referenced in the live stream earlier.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, this guy must have been really bad.
Okay, this is 2014 Action Plan number 19 of the Conservative Union, and we were talking about that congressman from wherever who decided to pick his earwax and eat it on camera, who then today, I guess it was, made some joke about El Paso being the safest city in America, which it's not, and being right across the border from the least safe city in the Americas, which Tijuana is. Is it Tijuana? That's right across from El Paso? No.
No.
What the hell
So
is across from El Paso?
you're saying that he waxed idiotic?
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, early.
Boom!
Oh.
Night, folks. I'm done.
No.
And he drops the mic and walks off stage. Okay, what Nuevo Laredo? Is that what's across from El Paso? Okay. I don't know. I'm just a Texan. Why would I care about Mexico or anything that's across the border? Ugh. But he was saying that I think he was trying to joke that El Paso was so safe, even though it's right across the border from Nuevo Laredo.
No, Ciudad Juarez.
Because of geez, man, I totally don't know geography, do I? Juarez? Really?
Well, because Laredo is across from Nuevo Laredo.
Okay, that makes
and
far more
Tijuana
sense,
is in California, across from California.
Okay, Tijuana. Okay, Tijuana is like Baja. Is it
Yes.
as far west as the Baja Peninsula?
It's right on the southern. I can't remember if it's close to.
We all have computers and maps and Google with maps.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Hang on.
I'm looking at it.
Because it's so important to the process here. Tijuana's across from Chula Vista. There you go, Chula Vista, California.
Okay.
Now we got that settled.
Yeah, and okay, my nephew who is based in El Paso, Fort whatever it is that's there in El Paso, he's of course in Afghanistan right now, but I was all, oh, cool, you can go to Mexico anytime you want. That'll be great because you're right across the border from it. No, they absolutely do not let soldiers or their wives go across the border into Mexico. And I had not known that, but Casey told me that as soon as they got based in, is it Bliss that's there in El Paso? Fort Bliss? Again, I don't know.
Look that up now.
Yeah, I think it's Bliss. But they tell all of the soldiers there that they are absolutely not permitted to go across the border into Mexico. Their wives, their friends, their relatives, nobody even closely related to them is permitted to go into Mexico. And, that's way different than it used to be 10, 15 years ago even, that the military absolutely restricts any of their employees or personnel from going even slightly across the border into Juarez. So sad. We are a nation bordered by a failed terrorist state. But enough about Mexico. Today we wanted to talk about why conservatives have to be so mean. Okay, and JD is a perfect example because JD is being mean about geography. Texican geography for 200, Alex. Yeah, you live in New Jersey. That's like Harris County.
At least I know the states that border my own.
How many New Jerseys fit into Texas? You know this because I've told it to you.
Yeah,
probably
all right.
50, 60.
I know it's double that for the number in Connecticut.
Oh Lord.
We still have more diners per capita, so deal with it.
Deal with it. Ooh, geography fights. Getting back to, or getting to, the desired subject of why we're so mean, what I've been seeing, and I'm sure y'all have been seeing it too, is that the GOP side of the culture war, or trying to get I don't know, mind share of the, trying to steal mind share and steal attention from the liberals and to get the moderates to notice us. It seems to be we're tending towards the sarcastic, the snarky, the mean, and Twitter enables that because it's, in 140 characters you try to be as clever as you can be because you're not going to be insightful on Twitter. That's not rewarded at all. But being clever and witty is rewarded. And then we have Twitchy that consolidates all of the different comebacks and witticisms, and then we have a blogosphere that will promote and cheerlead. And anytime you have one of our people that really fights back and hands him their head on a silver platter, it's woohoo, we really told him. And it makes us like mean jerks. We started it with the hashtag diplomacy thing, which I think we all agree that hashtag diplomacy is itself pretty stupid. And TV stars and celebrities holding up a piece of paper with a hashtag bring back our girls, okay, that makes sense, because you're a celebrity and you're trying to raise awareness, because that's really all you can do is use your celebrity to raise awareness. But when you're a senator or a representative or the wife of the president, you have other means at your disposal. And choosing to do this shallow hashtag thing, that's going the celebrity route of raising awareness, and it's so small and it's so pointless, and it makes it so narcissistic, rather than actually being helpful or doing something constructive. It's really more about, look at my cute dress and the little piece of paper I'm holding up in front of it, but don't I look cute? That's your idea of engagement in foreign relations, and that's really sad. And so making fun of that is kind of appropriate. But by the same token, as we've talked about before, you make fun of that, and what people who aren't paying attention see is, well, gosh, I noticed all the stars were saying bring back our girls, and then all the conservatives could do is make fun of it. The conservatives are so mean, they don't even care about the girls who have been kidnapped. It makes us seem very small and mean, and all we do is pick on people, and we're never nice, and we can't ever be helpful at all, and we're just mean and nasty. And then something I saw, I guess it was 2 days ago, Glamour magazine wrote an article about gun owners, and as one would expect, Glamour magazine doesn't have writers who know anything about guns, and I'm sure the author got her content from anti-gun groups, so it was, as expected, a left-leaning anti-gun article with, as expected, incorrect statistics or scare stories or whatever. It was exactly what you would expect Glamour magazine to write. And what happened was Dana Lash, who is a terrific warrior for our side, tweeted to the author of that Glamour magazine article, did you vet any of the stories in your article? And the woman at Glamour snarked back, and Dana included a link to her own blog. And the woman in the author of the article from Glamour tweeted back at Dana, I'm not going to click your link, you troll, or you troll. Well, okay. And then it became Dana snarking at her snarking back, and calling each other idiots and trolls, and you didn't call, why'd you call me a troll, and don't you know who I am, and don't you know who I am, and don't you vet your sources, and blah. And then everybody else, people who support Dana, started ganging up on this Glamour reporter and retweeting stuff and calling the Glamour lady stupid. And then Twitchy compiles all of the tweets supporting Dana, and isn't it great that Dana fought back, and isn't it sad how all these typical Glamour doesn't know anything about guns and put forth lies. And you know what? Nobody was converted. Nobody was impressed. Nobody who didn't already love guns now loves guns. Nobody who didn't already hate guns has any different opinion. No opinions were changed. And people who didn't know anything now see that Glamour wrote an article and the conservatives went crazy and got mean. There was no effort at, or maybe it's wrong to say there was no effort, but the way it turned out, the Glamour lady was not informed that there were some errors in her article and given the opportunity to correct it or hear another side. And there's no way now that she's going to listen to anything Dana has to say, because the Glamour lady cannot accept anything from Dana and still save face. Just the way that was handled was, it was very poorly handled, and it was just conservatives being mean and getting all excited about being mean.
Well, okay, I'm going to bring this up, just kind of related. If that were played out, other than on Twitchy, if some other website from the conservative side had collated those tweets and put them together, it would have said Dana Lash crushes, something else. We're doing that in journalism too. Again, I don't understand how the rank and file, who are just looking to be defended and see Dana challenge a reporter on facts or on the veracity of the stories that she's being told. That's a valid question. But of course, other people on our side that should know better are doing the same thing. Instead of engaging in a back and forth over the merits of really doing your homework as a journalist, which is where it should have gone, it became, let's defend Dana's honor.
Right. And we do have three groups that we have to address. We've got rally the troops, crush your enemies, and win over new converts. And the red meat discussions and rallying and supporting Dana, that can play to rallying the troops, and it can play to crushing your enemies. So I mean, that kind of messaging, that flavor of Dana kicked ass kind of thing, can be right for those two groups of crush your enemies and rally the troops. But we're not doing any messaging that is expand the tent, grow the base, bring in new converts, go out into the community and bring new, if you want to use a church analogy, it's bring more people into your church. Using the war analogy, it's recruiting new soldiers or just getting the villagers to be on your side. We're not doing, and the messaging has to be different for that audience.
Yeah,
and I don't know how you do both with one set of people.
I want to say this too. There's no such thing as an internal memo among conservatives. We don't get to have those discussions privately and talk to people. Every bit of that messaging goes online. So no matter how much good, positive outreach, evangelical conservatism that you do, there's all that other business still on Front Street for everybody to see.
Yeah.
See, I think there's a time and a place to mock people, and I think there are times when they do need to be made fun of, when they do something so dumb or things like that, but it should be pretty rare and it has to be done the right way. And Jon Stewart, David Letterman, all the late night talk show hosts, Stephen Colbert, they've made a living off of doing that, and most Democrats and lefty people get their news from those comedy sources. So it's very effective at gaining new people and keeping the people, but it's got to be from a certain it can't be everyone ganging up and attacking and being mean. It's got to be done in a creative, funny way, and it's got to be one or two people to point out the folly, like to point out that President Obama says, I'm mad as hell at this, every single scandal. I'm going to start a commission. I'll find out who's wrong. Nothing happens for 3 months, and then they stonewall. And I mean, it's the same pattern. If you did an SNL skit showing it, it would be brilliant and everyone would love it. But people just pointing it out in a mean-spirited way online just looks terrible. I think we need to figure out a better way to do it, but I think there is a space for it.
It's a good thing there are all those conservative talk show hosts on late at
I know. Leno was kind of the only one, and he was pretty equal opportunity, and he's gone now, so that
Yeah.
leaves 0.
Craig Ferguson, who's also gone.
Yeah, he was pretty funny too.
We get Greg Gutfeld. That's about it.
He's
Greg
pretty good.
Gutfeld, and you have to be on at 3, awake at 3 in the morning,
I mean,
which is easy for some of us and not so easy for others.
Rush is extremely effective at it. I think he's a little too mean-spirited to really
Rush
gain
is
new
not extremely
converts.
effective at it because Rush talks to us. That's it.
Yeah,
doesn't
he
talk to
talks to
anybody
his
else.
base. He's very good at talking to his base, being funny, but he's not good at getting new converts because he's too mean-spirited. But he does mock them a lot. He's funny with them. So
And that's where we have. I don't know how to fix it. Obviously, we can't change other people's behavior. All we can do is change our own.
the music videos JD points out every week, I think it's Remy. He mocks their stuff, and he's very funny. I mean, we need people like that. We need to support people like that and help them get their message out there.
Yes.
Well, there's smart, upbeat, happy, playful mocking, and
Mean.
then there's mean.
Well, when Remy mocks government, Remy mocks the concepts. He's not always, and none comes to mind, but he's not out there taking on individuals and trying to take them down.
Dianne Feinstein.
Well, okay, but that was a specific case. But most of the stuff that he's done has been around the concepts to make you go, the IRS is a target, the raise the debt ceiling video. Those were great, and they weren't mean. They were funny and engaging and really on topic and catchy. And I love a lot of his stuff because of that. And it's a shame he doesn't have a higher profile. When we met him at CPAC, he was using a borrowed pass to go because they didn't even recognize that he was anything.
And that was not this past CPAC. That was 2 years ago. So he wasn't. I don't think he was even there this past CPAC.
Well, I haven't seen as many videos of his of late. Either.
There have been quite a few. They don't get for some ridiculous reason they don't get shared anywhere near as much as they should. So
I've got to start camping out on Reason a lot more than I do.
Matt Walsh is one that has sometimes good sarcastic wit, but sometimes he can be too mean for a lot of people. But he's certainly gained quite the following recently.
Who?
Matt Walsh.
Oh, yeah. Matt does the sarcasm really well.
Mm-hmm.
And the flipped headline
Yeah.
kind of thing that draws you in. And he doesn't usually pick on individuals. He more tears apart a story or a concept. But it's a long article you have to read, and people want animated GIFs.
So the left, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but it seems like the left uses mean-spiritedness all the time. If you go to any post that hits what hot, it's just calling people racist or bigot or homophobe or
I don't know that
whatever
helps
name.
to know that, though.
Well, no, does that help them? Is that a strategy that helps them?
Yes.
Or do you think
Yes.
they just... Okay, so could we use the
No.
same thing? I don't think I want to.
No, we can't use the same thing. We aren't allowed to. We aren't because we're not cool enough.
Well, that's true.
We don't have the same footing. We're not on equal footing here. This isn't.
You can't be cruel enough if you're the underdog. If you're the victim, you can't strike hard enough. You can't go too far. If you're the oppressor,
which
then
we are.
you're just using your oppressive nature and all your privilege stacked up to beat down the little guy. That's the dynamic.
Right, we're still the oppressor, even though we're not in power.
Oh, well, but that's the thing about power. We're in power because of the 1%. We're in power because old white guys. We're in power because
Because of biases you can't even imagine because you're not enlightened enough.
I think it's
Exactly.
funny that we don't have one old white guy in this group. We meet every we're the party of old white guys.
Because I tell them it's on
One old
Thursdays.
white guy.
The old white guys are coming Thursday. Well,
Well,
that's the
the
way
old
it
white
is.
guys, the old white guys in the party aren't really particularly concerned about the same stuff that we're concerned about. So
right, they're not on
that's
social
another thing.
media because they don't use their computers. We're the employees of the old white guys or something.
Well, I know there are a lot of old white guys in this party that bug me, that are really, really frustrating for me because we have to hear about Common Core from some state rep in Florida about Common Core turning kids gay, and that's why we should oppose it, not because of any other reason, but because it turns kids gay.
Right.
Or, you know, any of the other billion ridiculous statements that any number of our guys say, you know, just fall out of their mouths on a daily basis. Talking about there's some other guy from Utah wanting to reinstate uh, firing squads because of the whole lethal injection thing. It's like,
And it's like, okay, I get it, and among friends, we may have chit-chatted about that as well,
yeah,
but it was a joke, and we
you
didn't say
don't. That's not
we're
something that
not
you seriously.
we're not elected officials actually proposing it.
Because
Seriously proposing
even
it,
though,
or is it
yes, he
tongue in
was
cheek?
serious. No, he was seriously proposing it,
Nice.
and it's understandable when you talk when if you're getting down to the pure logic of the situation. If you are trying to find a way to kill somebody,
And I want to kill them
that
fast, and I
and
want
you
to kill
want
them
to kill them fast and
painlessly
you want to kill them
and cheap
cheap,
and
then
certain.
that's then that's
So,
how
let's
then
just
that's
point a
how
bunch of guns at them. Sure.
that's how you do it. However, it doesn't look good to the 99% of the rest of the country that thinks that, this is ridiculous.
Wouldn't it even be faster and cheaper and more painless if we just put him in a room and pumped some gas into it?
No, wouldn't be.
And like if the gas was called
They've
Zyklon B,
even tried
then
some
why
of
don't
it
we do
before.
that? That's probably, but he wouldn't suggest that because he knows how that would play politically, but okay, he doesn't think about the PR of suggesting a firing squad. It's like, dude, you're just too stupid to live. I'm sorry. You first, dude, on the firing squad.
Well, we're good at firing squads of the circular variety.
Yes, we are. Yes. Yes.
As we've mentioned before, it's really hard to get a bunch of independent people and independent thinkers to do the exact same thing. When you have a bunch of sheep that'll follow whatever the money man says, it's pretty easy. You say, this is your talking point, everyone go out and share it. Everyone
We'll pay you
follows, they don't
$5
ask
an hour.
questions.
Show up with a
Yeah.
picket and march
They
around.
don't ask questions, they just say exactly what is written on the card.
Yeah.
That's what we're up against, is an army of people who have nothing better to do and who don't think for themselves. They just do what they're told.
They
Well,
have not the slightest idea of what the issue actually is.
I think we need to probably think about, though, whether that is insoluble with the current, and I don't think it is, but I think we have to consider how difficult it is to get over that. Are we stuck now in that 5-second messaging thing, or that meme culture has penetrated our side so much that even our guys would rather do that than think and talk and consider issues. But at the same time, I look at, say, the work that Reason has done highlighting certain terrible injustices and stupid government policies, and that's the end of it. So you don't have
Right.
the thinking branch of conservatism and libertarianism consulting with the doing branch, at all. It's not a marriage there. I'm very concerned.
Right. It's like we have the groups that are finding the problems, then we have the groups that are pointing out the problems.
And
And we
I'm
have the
sorry, I
And
don't
that's
need to
it.
hear. I don't need to hear how biased the media is.
Yeah, I
I
get
I
it.
don't need to hear how leftists are stupid or uninformed or, denying reality. So what? Again, I come back again and again, and it's a thing I've always harped on. I don't want to know any more of the problems. I don't need to have yet another story about yet another liberal doing yet another stupid thing in Washington. I need to know, what are we going to do to fix it?
But then, that nobody wants to really talk about what to do to fix it. And you and I are so, well, all of us here are pretty aware of the problems and what's going on. And, we don't need to hear it anymore because, yeah, I know. But there are actually a lot of people out there who are not tuned in or not observant enough to really understand and really see what's going on, and who do need the strategic education or the on some level it's even just an explanation or an understanding of tactics too.
I agree. I agree. But the thing is, the kind of messaging that our side is doing around, hey, look at this thing, is not designed to reach those people at all.
Right. Well, okay, here's an example, and I kind of hate to use it because it's me bragging on myself, and I'm not doing it because I'm not doing it for that purpose. But it is just a recent example of an exchange of a conversation that I've had with someone who would tell you that she is that she's politically engaged because she's very active on the Conservative Union, and she posts a lot of political stuff. She's a political junkie. But a couple of days prior to well, maybe it was just Monday. I don't know, but I shared a story to the Conservative Union that was about CNN and I think CNN and Breitbart both publishing a story about how um, McConnell wins, and that's the end, and that's the death of the Tea Party. And the introduction that I put on the story, because I wasn't just going to share the story, I was going to share the story with the perspective of you need to understand what's being done here by this, that what this story is doing. Understand the headline and understand the meaning, and guard against it. And it was, they're telling you this because they want to demoralize you, and you're going to have friends who will be demoralized by this. And understand that it's not true, or even if it is true, it's not necessarily the end of things. And just don't be spun by this, and just recognize it as spin. And there was actually one girl on there who, she kind of argued, and naturally it ended up being a discussion of how McConnell sucks and the world is over if McConnell wins, blah blah blah. But I finally got to the point where one of them, Tanya, she said, "Do you think that they really do this? Is this true? I mean, are they really doing this intentionally?" And I was like, "Actually, yes, they are, and yes, they do." And
CNN
today,
for sure, but Breitbart surprised me.
yeah, it was just, and it was posted at Breitbart blind. It was
She says
just
no.
he didn't he didn't put any, and it was by Breitbart News. There was no analysis put on it. There was no, this is trying to spin. It was just a reposting of the article from CNN, which is what kind of disappointed me. But Tanya posted today. She posted a news story from somebody else that said, guess what? Leslie was exactly right. The day after the election, here's the story that says the Tea Party is dead. And because of the warning that I got 2 days ago, I now see what they're trying to do to us. And then there were a couple of other comments on there of, yeah, the Tea Party is dead. And Tanya's like, no, that's what they're trying to tell you. I now am seeing through some of this. And so, I feel like, oh my God, I kind of succeeded. I taught one student something. And I love that. I'm a teacher at heart, and I love the fact that I got through to a student. Oh my God, it kind of made me cry. Yay, woo! It's Tanya, and she's half crazy half the time anyway. Sometimes, or just she and I have a hard time understanding her. I think maybe it's just a communication issue. Because once we kind of get through it, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you muted me. I'm like, no, I didn't mute you. I just didn't see your notification. There have been a couple of times that we've misunderstood each other on things. But this time it was one of those deals where where the message got through, and somebody who considers herself political had not seen what you and I see, which is that we're being spun by these headlines and that they're trying to manipulate us, and that our own side is falling for it and falling for the demoralization. And it was important, but it took so much time to get the message across and to get the education in and to get through to a couple of people, one person or a couple of people, so that from here on out, when they see those kinds of headlines, they'll see it for what it is. I want to figure out how to make that education process happen faster.
Yeah, that would be nice. It doesn't. It's not a. I don't know that there's a way. You have people that get it. You have people who don't get it, and there are people I've talked with for years, and no matter how much effort and energy and time you want to put into it, it's not. There are some nuts that are too tough to crack. It happens. You just gotta figure out when to move on. So it's good to put it out there. It's good to say it and show it and all that stuff. But whether they pick it up or not.
And I think what bothers me is that the kind of short-term messaging thing that we have to get better at is also the thing that we're struggling against in situations like this, because it's so much easier to say results A from election means Tea Party's dead. It's so much easier. And that's why I brought up that question. Are we in an insoluble problem there because we can't get around people on our side looking at headlines and going for that? Headline only kind of thing. There's this business about Michelle Obama talking at a commencement ceremony about racist family members and how the change needs to start with you talking to your racist family members. And the headline is Michelle Obama tells students to rat out their racist family members, report their racist family members. That's totally not what she said. But this particular article was all about the things she said. I listened to the audio. I got nothing like what they said about that. But what are people taking away from it? It's because of Michelle Obama derangement syndrome. Anything that she does now is mockable and horrible. It comes back to the hashtag thing again. Anything she does is not worthy of any good. There's nothing good that in anything she says.
But don't disagree with me, you rhino.
Yes, and I didn't post that on my regular page. I posted that in a private group because I'm getting to the point where I'm self-censoring over some issues, and it's bothering me. Now, here I am talking about other people self-censoring.
Right, and you're doing the same thing because
and I'm doing it.
Right.
But I'm doing it in the way that I'm trying not to start a fight with my side, whereas I'm advising other people to self-censor in order to not make us all look like jerks.
Right. Like, how do we, and how arrogant of us to believe that we're the reasonable ones and we need to teach everybody. But you know what?
I don't care. I'm telling you straight up.
I'm smarter than the rest of everybody. I know.
Damn straight on this.
I know things that they don't know. I see things they don't see. I understand things that they don't understand. And I want to teach them. It's not just that I know more than they do. I want them to have my knowledge. And I'm willing to exert the effort to do that. I just need for it to be, I need to know how to make it successful. For me to teach people to recognize this stuff and to teach people so that as soon as they see this link at Breitbart, when I saw that my Breitbart RSS feeder was CNN : Tea Party is dead, I saw just those words and I'm like, boom. That is Breitbart being spun and allowing people, and this is bad. And I need to point out how that's bad. Well, other people saw that article and would have just said, "Oh my God, the Tea Party is dead."
Well,
And
it is. It's been dead since,
sure,
for years.
because McConnell is Satan, and it, he won, and so the establishment will always win, and there's no difference one party versus the other. Heck with them all. What's my fantasy football team? Let's just move on. Let's forget about politics. Let's just talk about fantasy football or hockey or whatever they do with that. Sportsing things. But, we need to get more people on our side. And the sad thing is, I don't see that we have a whole lot of people on our side that are, the highly paid pundits that are doing the kind of analysis and sharing of information to keep people from being spun. Ace does a lot of it. Ace does a damn good job, but that ends up being in his lengthy articles that, probably a couple of people read, and that's about it. Most of what happens on our side is alarm bell ringing.
And there are not a lot of people who understand things the way we understand them and believe the situation is the way we believe it, with a big enough megaphone to prevail. And you've got a 5,000, again, I keep bringing it up, you got a 5,000 member of Conservative Union.
Which is nothing, by the way. That's very small.
Right, but compared to the influence that, say, FRN has, it's potentially very much larger. And not even that number of people are engaging in sharing the ideas and the thoughts and the explanations that are put out under CU's banner. There's I don't know that there's a lot of reading or taking in other people's opinion, but there's a heck of a lot of offering their own. And that's not a criticism aimed at CU. That's just what we are in the movement.
Well, and as human beings,
too. Moderators sharing all of them. I mean, there's, 12, 20 moderators, something like that, and they don't share each other's stuff very often. They don't work together very often to promote a certain idea, unless it's like a fun Friday or there's a few things they do. But I think there could be a lot better.
Well, and I mean, maybe it's not the purpose of it, but it's an audience that I don't know. It's an audience that I think would be working.
The purpose, ostensibly, when we put it together, the purpose was to come up with a place that could not just be conservatives talking to conservatives, but we made it public and open so that it would be, yes, conservatives talking to conservatives, but with an eye to the public watching us and being someplace that is conservative, that shows conservatives being the kind of people you want to be like, and you want to join us and to grow the conservative movement by being. So when somebody who says, well, what the heck are conservatives? They'd go look at the Conservative Union and say, oh, that's what they are. I like them better than I like the liberals. And I don't think we've succeeded at that. It's sometimes better than others, but most of the time the CU is just sharing news stories and chit-chatting about news stories. And that's kind of what social media is.
It is, but I mean, the left has turned it into this platform for action and activism and rallying around things, and we have to learn how to do that too. But I mean, even our well, back to the case of Remy. Okay, Remy, really good messaging, really solid, non-nasty, very relatable to a broad audience, and nobody's heard of him outside of the people that have nagged until they've watched something or shared all the stuff that I could share from him, and then, oh, I remember that, I saw that once or something.
I have some stats on that, by the way. I'm sorry, I hate to break in there, but he's got 22 videos from Reason TV with a hit count, a view count. It says here, according to the Reason TV page, 46,435 views combined.
What?
No, his IRS video got 46,000 at
That's it.
least.
It's I just clicked on the playlist. Maybe it's a playlist. Maybe it's collected playlist views.
No, I don't know, but that's not right. That's not right at all.
Okay.
But it's
I
still not
personally
million.
contributed 40,000 hits to raise the debt ceiling
Yes.
on my own. Thank you.
Right. He's got 28,000 hits on his most recent one. The Isn't Ironic government surveillance version. 28,000 views on that, which is really, really, really tiny comparatively speaking when you're talking about YouTube.
Happy Tax Day has 79,000, and that's one of his most recent.
The quality of the videos versus the amount of views he gets.
That's pathetic.
It's pathetic. These should be, you know.
I mean, great. If it was one of my videos, I'd be like, "Oh my god!"
Right, of course,
videos,
but he's actually getting funded to do this by Reason,
right.
And it's not like these are, you know, videos that you know I'm coming up with. These are
Professionally
actual,
produced and planned
yeah,
and thought and written and scripted and all that. Yes.
Are beautiful. They're great. They look great, but if we don't, I don't know if it's just that we lack the same kind of willing to the people who are willing to share, or if our demographics are still so off that we don't share YouTube videos with the same kind of vigor that the Democrats do. Obviously, you know, when you have a younger audience, when you have a younger base, then there's going to be a lot more of the, you know, viral shares going out there. But it just seems odd that with the amount of conservatives in the country and the ones who have access to computers, which should be, you know, pretty close to
100%.
100% by now, it makes no sense that these aren't getting out
Well,
there.
and you know, CU has nearly 5,000 members. Libertarian and not progressive, but the libertarian groups. There's a couple of them. They have like 10,000 members, 15,000 members. I mean, the libertarian groups on Google Plus that would be available to share those Reason videos. I mean, they have Reason would have a much further reach than we do, and I'm sure they're sharing this stuff out on Twitter and Facebook too. So, I mean, that's just ridiculous that they don't have a bigger reach.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because these are news-related videos and they disappear. You know, the relevance disappears after a while or something. I don't get that. I don't think that works because I think they're still funny. These videos are still legitimately funny on their own. But
yeah. Well, what about that Julie? What's her face? The girl. Do her videos get a lot more views?
Not a lot more views, no. And she's got FreedomWorks backing her, right? Is she FreedomWorks or AFP?
FreedomWorks. She's still with FreedomWorks, from what I understand. That's where I met her.
Yeah, you actually know these people.
She doesn't remember me.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I'm looking at her page right now, and right now, her most popular uploads. She's got one with 318,000 views. That's her top one. That's the Lena Dunham parody that she did, voting, that whole first-time voting thing.
Yeah.
Which was sick and stupid.
But it got views because of Lena Dunham and yeah.
Well, no, the original Lena Dunham clip was what was sick and stupid.
Well, yeah.
She's got a bunch of them that are in the 200,000. She's got two. I'm sorry. She's got a couple in 200,000 view range, and then it drops off from there. Her most recent one, which is about sriracha, and that really should be shared. And I didn't. I myself failed on this one because I should have put this on Reddit in the food subreddit. But that's only got 12,000 views, and it's on a subject that people actually do care about. There are a lot of people out there who love sriracha, and that's something that crosses party lines. So we'll see.
Right, and it crosses into, like you said, and into the food subreddit rather than just the conservative subreddit. You know, you toss it over there into food.
That makes me think of something, because I was talking to our friends that do From the Right Radio, which is on Wednesdays and Thursday nights, and then the same people do Saturday Night Cigar Lounge. And I was talking to them when they
Can't
were
believe
gonna.
I only heard the last 5 minutes of that live.
It was really good, I thought.
I listened to it later.
Okay.
By the way, the recorded version.
But no, the guys that I was talking to before they launched their latest effort, which was Real Raw, something supposed to
Saw
be
the title of that. Yeah, what is that?
Real Raw. It was supposed to be a takeoff of Rare, but done better, or so. I don't know the whole think about it. Thing. And Vigilant Liberty, and then it was, their show is From the Right. They're stuck on that right, conservative, liberty labeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if we're segregating ourselves with that as well. I had a long conversation with them about whether they wanted to put that kind of branding on it. Again, Free Radical Network was a conscious choice, separate from, advertising conservative. We want to tell it, not label it, and make people, not turn away just because of the name of the site.
Well, and it's a similar thing that I see with so many of the lefties and the progressive communities and their think tanks and the names of all their organizations. They are things like Sensible Politics and the Thinkers Community, and we are, Smart People Politics, and it's all the aspirational names, Beautiful America Foundation, and it doesn't tell you that it's leftist politics. It's rather dishonest in that, and I disrespect them for it.
How could you be against sensible politics?
Well, exactly.
Until you go in there.
Liberal, and it's the exact opposite of what it meant. I mean, they've been playing that game for 100 years. They hijack words.
And it's aspiration. They put aspirational names. The label is what we think somebody wants to see in themselves, and that's what the leftists do this very well. Their message is like in advertising. All of the beautiful, sexy women are used for advertising to both women and men, because the women want to be her and the men want to get her. So we're going to market our product as, sexy woman automobile company. Well, it's an automobile. It's not a sexy woman, but we're going to use sexy women to sell it, because women want to be that and men want to get with that. We're going to call it sensible politics. It's actually leftist, but you want to see yourself as being somebody who is sensible. You want to think of yourself as sensible. So we're going to call it sensible politics.
Is that
we're going to call it no labels politics. And all of those organizations end up being, if they start out actually kind of leftist, and they end up totally leftist.
People for the American Way.
Oh my God, yes.
And I'm thinking about this. Are we just afraid that, and I'm asking myself this, are we just afraid that if we don't label ourselves properly, we'll lose the people in our base that we could get?
I think if you don't use the word, you're going to lose the word, like we did with liberal. I mean, liberal used to mean freedom, basically a libertarian, and now it means communist. And if we don't use conservative or right-wing or whatever word we choose, as soon as people realize how bad progressives are, they're going to take that word. The next thing, 20 years down the line, they'll be conservatives and they'll take that over. And then, yeah. So, that to me is kind of why I use it, but I think it's stupid. The left also, instead of saying anything about politics, it's just, this is life. this is entertainment, this is how the world is, matter of fact, whether you like it or not. Everyone wants this. And it's not true. And they don't even wrap it up in politics. They just say, that's life, that's the world. And that seems to work for them too. So I mean, instead of saying we're the conservative union, just, I don't make some name that has nothing to do with politics and just be that fun community. Kind of like Thinkers community is, or
This is
something.
what
I
made
don't
me
know.
think of this too.
Which, and the Thinkers is fun because it's all the stupidest people you'd ever care to see, but
Lovely. No, I'm thinking about this too because IJR, when they launched, they were independent journal review. There was nothing labeling them as conservative. They figured that out, and they're doing quite well hit-wise, I hear, on a regular basis. But as far as content, it's hit and miss.
Same with the Blaze and Breitbart. They're doing great on
Right.
numbers and stuff, and I'm about to remove them all from my RSS feed because I can't read 200 stories a day. And since they don't let me separate it out, it's either 200 to nothing, and I'm going to go with nothing. Because, the Blaze,
Right.
half of their stories are garbage.
Right.
Breitbart,
And it'll end up in your
two-thirds of their
feed if
stories
it's
are
important.
garbage. Right.
If it's important, you'll see it somewhere else.
Right. Or, I hope so. Heck, I never see stories from John Nolte anymore, and I wonder if he's dead or not. And he's not, but I love his work. I would love to subscribe to Breitbart/Nolte, but I can't. So I count on seeing his stuff shared by somebody else, and it never is. Fortunately, John Hayward writes at Human Events, and I can still subscribe at Human Events and see John Hayward's stuff. And at this point, I can recognize from the first paragraph, oh, I bet this is Hayward's particular perspective on something. But because Human Events isn't 200 stories a day, and I understand why the Blaze and Breitbart and IJR are doing it. They need the hits, they need the traffic, they need the advertising revenue. But
IJR also, and I just want to point this out. This was on that video that the RNC shared, or the hangout that they did with Ben Howe and somebody from oh crap, I can't think of the name of the other website. One of the smaller conservative blogs, but also one of the head guys over at IJR, and he said specifically that yes, that was what he had in mind, was that no, you don't want to have the conservative label because it immediately shuts you off to whatever amount of the people out there, and that they don't share all of their conservatives. It's not only a conservative thing that they share. They like to share a lot of feel-good stories and upworthy type stuff because it gets more people to click on the link, and those clicks turn into future clicks. It's oh,
I
hey,
dispute that.
You dispute that is actually a thing, or
I dispute that it works.
well, I don't know if it works or not, but that's what the guy said. So that was their reasoning on this. I barely ever go to Independent Journal Review. I also ignore 90% of the stuff that shows up in my feed, because if it is important, I'll probably be reading it someplace else.
yeah, okay, you dispute that somebody they're going to click on a story about the latest viral video, and then they're going to stick around at the website and look at some other story. And there was an article about that, talking about the explainer sites, and I had that tab open for a long time yesterday, and he was using Vox and the sites on the left, of which IJR and Blaze and Breitbart are trying to be the right side equivalent, of the the alarming headlines, the tease headlines that do and don't have to do with the content of the story, and then his point was, one headline and the story is interesting and fine, but if you go to the actual homepage of that website, you're going to get absolutely, one, you're going to vomit because it's ugly, and two, you're going to get totally confused because you look at the stories one after the other and they don't blend, they don't mesh, there's no editorial cohesiveness whatsoever. It's just, it's a weird kind of homepage thing. And he was talking about the fact that it's the way people read. People don't read websites now. You get a story shared in your social media feed or your RSS feed, and only weirdos like me use RSS anyway, but most people get their stories out of their Facebook feed or their Google feed, and they look at the headline, the extract of the story. Maybe they'll click to the story, but then they don't really click to other stories of the page, and they really don't look at the home page of a website. And I think that's true, and I think that's why, like Felicia said, I kind of dispute the theory of what IJR is saying, that we toss out stories about puppy dogs so that we'll catch the people to come back later to read our stories about the latest Cato report. If somebody's coming to your website to read a story about puppy dogs, they're going to read the story about puppy dogs, and then they're going to go back to their Twitter feed.
Well, and look, an RSS feed is much more informational and catches you up much quicker than looking at the front page of any website anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
I've been considering doing that type of a thing just with my personal account, because I see people like that have 100,000 followers. They do some dumb post and they get 50 pluses, and it gets on What's Hot. It's like, it kind of feels like you have to have a lot of that photography stuff and feel-good stuff and random stuff. Then you can mix an important thing in here and there, and you get a lot more traction. I don't know if that's right or not, but I do a lot of religious stuff just in my religious circle, and I do conservative stuff, sometimes public, sometimes with communities, and I don't have a whole lot of that, just random cat gifs and stuff like that. And it's like, if I start doing a lot more of that, it's not really stuff I'm interested in, but it'll get more followers. But I've never cared about followers. But if I want to actually make a difference and get a message out there and get people to see it, I kind of need more, and I've been kind of struggling with that for the last month. Just like, okay, do I kind of sell myself out and just do random junk all the time to get more people? Or
I don't know that you need to do it all the
time.
time. I mean, I struggle with that too, and specifically on Google Plus, where people don't know me as well as they do on Facebook, where I'm sort of an established brand there. For a far smaller number of people, but people that know me as me. And I share all kind of ridiculousness on Google Plus, just not all the time. I mean, there's like 10%, 20% ridiculous to 80 or 90% substance. And I don't really track what gets better response, but I do know that if I ask a pop quiz question on Facebook, I'm going to get a discussion. I'm not necessarily going to get that on Google+. So that just may be a function of the way I use Google+. But, again, I don't know that this all gets back to the meme and the messaging kind of thing that we were originally going to talk about. It's still a good topic, but maybe part of what the meanness is the way we use social media to tie that all up into a nice bow. It's maybe this is the culture, and we have to decide how to compete in it and whether to compete in it, and what are the best ways to do it. But chiefly, I think we have a sincere lack of empathy on our side that makes us mean. I'd like to explore that.
And I think that's true. I think you hit it. And you're right. It's an argument, or the first step in my battle is one like what Ryan suffers from. Do I pursue more followers and a larger following so that my message gets out further, or do I focus on just sharing what's important and trust that the decent followers will come? And what I've done so far is just share what I feel is important in the things that are interesting to me, and don't really pay any attention to how many followers I have, and they come, and then and it works, and whatever. But I do try. I am thinking, okay, if I want to reach further, what do I do? How do I change it? And I look at what is popular, and what is popular on the conservative side is people being assholes. And that's where I am with it. I'm at where Ryan is of, okay, what do I need to do to get more popularity so I have maybe more effectiveness? And the answer is be an asshole? I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no.
And
Ask questions, so that.
I think Fishy's right. The part of the thing about conservatives being perceived as jerks, we kind of are. It's not just that we're perceived as jerks. We kind of are jerks because we don't live in the world of empathy and feeling.
I see now. I beg to differ on that a bit, because, like Star Jones was on welfare. I've used welfare as it was supposed to be, in between jobs. So we've got empathy for those people that are on hard times and don't want to be there as a career option. I don't have empathy for those who want to use the system as a career option. Welfare was not supposed to be a career option. So therefore, because I've been there and seen what it's, that kind of life, how, it's not a fun thing to do. And it used to piss me off, because I had welfare girls asking me why I was trudging out in the snow to go catch a bus after dropping my kids off. Why don't I just stay home and collect a check?
Well, and that's the thing.
You might have empathy, but I can absolutely vouch for the fact that there are a ton of us that don't think that any welfare is, that are just completely at war with the entire concept. Just, these are, anybody who's on welfare is just a leech on society, and it is just horrible. I've seen these things. I've been in these discussions, and they will, this is a frequent. This is not a minority opinion. This is something that, you bring this subject up, and it is, it is something that is disgustingly prevalent in this movement. I don't know, it's just, it's terrible. It really, it's absolutely terrible. And the same thing with, if you want to talk about unemployment checks, if you want to talk about any kind of government, any kind of welfare at all, any kind of government support, it degrades into, oh, these people are leeches and they are doing nothing, and they are clearly awful, terrible, drug-addled.
And there's fraud, so much fraud.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. And you go through all of that, and it's just, it is very easy to paint us as assholes, because a lot of us act like assholes. It's terrible.
Well, and the thing is, none of that stuff is untrue. There is an awful lot of fraud, and there are an awful lot of people on welfare and disability who should not be, and there are really bad people. But
Yeah.
our first go-to is being mad about those people and not expressing sympathy for the poor people. And the Democrats' first go-to is to express sympathy for the people who are in hardship, and they'll say, but don't you care about the poor people? And we'll have to say, well, yes, of course I feel for the guy who lost his limbs and has, maggots in his eyes and needs to, or whatever. Yes, I feel sorry for them. Of course I do. But that means we are coming from the bad position of having to justify the fact that no, when did you stop beating your wife kind of thing. Our first instinct is that poor people are bad. And again, I can't change the people in the conservative movement. I can't change the fact that they're jerks.
Did you guys hear Ben Carson on The View the other day? Yesterday morning, I think it was.
The what?
Yeah.
The what?
Ben Carson.
The what?
The View!
I don't know this. What is this?
Okay, well, Ben Carson, he's been on a lot of interviews, so we can forget about that program. But his message was that welfare, if you say, I want to give you a car and a house and a paycheck and all this stuff so you don't have to work, it's insulting, it's demeaning, it's degrading. What we need to do is give them a way to work themselves out of it. I was talking to my sister-in-law last week, and she has some mental issues that prevent her from working very much. She could probably do 10 to 20 hours. That's not enough to support herself. And so she's on government assistance. If she works at all, she loses that assistance. It's ridiculous. We ought to be putting forth a plan saying we care about these poor people. We care about the people that are on hard times, and we want to help them get out of it. That's why we're proposing this, rather than the system's corrupt, the system's wasted, these people are leeches, we need to fix it this way. We need to come at it from a different angle of compassion, that we want to help them, and providing all this stuff for them keeps them down. It gives them no incentive to work. Kind of like T said, why are you going out in the snow when just sit home and get a check? That's a terrible way to look at things. That's a horrible outlook on life, and it makes you not value yourself. You don't produce what you could, and we can go at it from a different way, still get the same point, get the changes we want, and still look like we're compassionate.
I think we have had a lot of people in the public sector message that way. That's not penetrating. That's not what people are seeing. Because I think you're right. I think that those messages were central to, say, the Romney campaign. In 2012. There was a lot of that, getting the government off the backs of people and letting people, setting them free and helping empower people, giving them, I think there's a lot of people that don't want the power. They just want to trade that decision making and stuff for someone else to take care of them. And it may be that we've reached that tipping point. I don't know. That's not the soul of the discussion. But what we're talking about is, how do you balance a do-it-your-own-damn-self, independent-minded, the individual is, their rights should be respected, their sovereignty, their what's the word I'm looking for? Their agency should be respected on one hand, and on the other, the compassion that conservatives are historically engaged in through charities and everything. How do you balance that? Because there are people who I know who give a lot of money to charity who still would say things like that.
Right, we actually act like nice people, but we talk like jerks.
The key is going to be think about what Harriet Tubman said. I don't know the exact quote, but she said something to the effect of, I freed 1,000 slaves. I would have freed 2,000 more, except they didn't realize they were slaves. And when you're referencing something like welfare and the entitlement type programs, there are many people who are doing, like I said, the career option, not realizing you're really being a slave to the system.
Right, but I can't say that to people. I can't say that to people. I have to find another way to reach them, because I can't use that word, because I'm a white girl. What do I know? Never mind that I've been in the system and I understand that.
And see,
I can't say that.
The stereotype, actually, there's a higher percentage of white people, but the stereotype is that it's the black or Hispanic welfare queen, when the reality is you've got more whites that are on welfare than blacks and Hispanics. It's just because they're a lot of times in the urban area congregated together.
Right. But I'm still trying to talk. I'm still trying to talk about how do we talk to our guys about that, and the things that they're going to say in talking about the issue are just what you talked about with the Harriet Tubman quote. They're going to say, you know, plantation politics, red flag, that doesn't sell,
No.
but it's what we say in the conservative community. When you talk about immigration, you know, everything is centered around the criminal aspect of illegal immigration, which I get. Sovereign laws of a sovereign nation don't matter, then you don't have a nation. I get all that. But if I'm in Mexico and my kid is starving and I don't have any other options because there's too corrupt in that entire country, I'm not looking at the option of fixing the corruption. I'm looking at crossing that border and feeding my kid. And I would do a lot of things to feed my child, and a lot of them would be illegal, but my kid would be eating. And that's the kind of compassion that I don't think our side sees. If you mention
And when Jeb Bush said that it was an act of love, he was absolutely right.
Yes, yes.
Because Jeb Bush was talking about, as the parent of a child, you're going to do anything for your child.
And doesn't it irk you that you have to say that Jeb Bush was exactly right? But it's true. And
exactly.
No, the guy, because he's
But
Jeb
what
Bush.
about the job that is being taken from an American worker so they can't feed their kid?
Well, no, there had to be more to what Jeb was saying, and Jeb was a stupid politician at that moment, which is going. That's the kind of thing that I, as a voter, I'm going to say, okay, he's a risky candidate because he's going to say crap like that, and that phrase is the only thing that our side is going to glom onto, and we know that. So politically, it was stupid, but I didn't even hear everything he said because I don't really care enough to listen to Jeb Bush, but all I did hear was that the little piece of context that I heard was that he said that phrase when he was talking about the parent in Mexico going to bring their child across, and they're doing it because they love their child. I agree with that. He didn't say, and it was the right thing to do, and we need to let him stay here. Had he then followed through and said that, I would have said, and I disagree with Jeb on that part. But when he said that a parent was doing this because he loved his child, that part was right. That was accurate. That was just like saying the grass is green. It's a non-dramatic statement of fact that a parent of a child in Mexico wants to get his kid to America because he loves him. Well, yeah. That's not alarming. That's just true. And the fact that our press blew it up and turned it into a reason to hate Jeb Bush because he wants amnesty for all illegals. He may, I don't know, but that statement did not tell me that he wants amnesty for all illegals. The statement just tells me that Jeb Bush does recognize fact, and he's capable of stating fact.
I'll be really honest. I talk about that issue in that way that I just stated, empathetically, that if I were a person who lived south of the border, and I didn't have any other options available to me other than try to affect the corrupt political structure there, I'd be hopping it across the border too, and I would do anything it took. I talk about it that way, and I can say that because I'm on this side of the border, and I don't have that issue. But I don't go out looking for articles on immigration. That's not an issue I want to touch because I'm afraid of it. To be very honest, I've been burned.
Oh my God, it's a trap.
I've been burned badly before, and I think that everybody wants to do a comprehensive fix, and I don't think you can do that. I think immigration, and I've said it 100 times, I think immigration is multiple issues that need to be handled one at a time, but that doesn't benefit the left, so they don't want to do it.
Right.
that way, and then the right, they're always getting
They're not strong enough.
like
The right isn't strong enough
well,
to
they're
do
getting
it.
caught up by people like Jeb Bush who turn people into, robots screaming, and no amnesty, no amnesty, and that's all they want to say.
We screw ourselves up.
That's the message of the right on immigration. No amnesty, no amnesty, no amnesty. That's all they got.
And in trying to figure out, what we as a little group can do, it kind of occurred to me just in the conversation about the Ben Carson interview on The View, because I did watch the clip, and my eyes did in fact not bleed from watching a clip of The View. I was really surprised, but it was the only people that I saw speaking was Ben Carson, Terry Crews, who I love, by the way, and Whoopi Goldberg. And what I got out of it, I had a very different analysis that I would have written right after seeing that clip. And the analysis right after seeing that clip is that Ben Carson and Whoopi Goldberg absolutely agreed on the issue, and we should put them in a room and help them, and they can work it out together because they both have the right direction. And then when I saw it on, I happened to have, I left Fox News on today, all day, after watching Obama's speech. I didn't get up to turn Fox News off, so it was actually on all day around the corner. And so it was on when, I guess it was the 5, and they played the thing about The View, and they talked about it. Well, they played the clip of The View, and they cut it off right before Whoopi Goldberg's last sentence. And it was Whoopi Goldberg's last sentence, which was what I was going to hang the, oh my God, they agree on. And I've seen our side do this multiple times, because Whoopi, she told her story of I was a welfare mother, and nobody on welfare wants to stay on welfare, but welfare is a very good thing for people who are in need. And then her last sentence was, but it was really hard to get off welfare, because as soon as you get a job, they cut your check off. And Whoopi said, we need to have a way to let people work and still get some help. And she said that, and that was basically what Ben Carson was saying, because he had started on talking about HSAs and the help, and they give you the hand up, not the hand out kind of thing. They absolutely, that conversation, that should have been the starting point of a conversation, and for people to realize we agree on this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not being sold as that kind of an exchange.
And also, too, when you have candidates that are actually putting forward that kind of a message, the powers that be don't want to put that candidate forward. We have a governor's candidate now. That's part of his message, is that he wants to have that safety net, so that the moment that you start working, they don't just pull the rug out from underneath you, because it is hard to get off.
Right. If you've got a
really
job
trying.
paying you $200 a month, then your welfare goes down by $200 a month. Okay, That's fair. Now, it doesn't go away completely, but if you've got a job, then your job replaces a certain amount of your welfare. I mean, that's just logical. Hello, but
well, and if we bothered to take 5 minutes beyond, lazy welfare queens and whatever, and talked about how difficult it is to get off the system, as an empathetic measure, to say we totally understand, then perhaps the other side would see us as more open, but our side would eat us alive.
Well, and if we were able to say Ben Carson was on The View today and he and Whoopi agreed on an issue, rather than the headline being Ben Carson gave Whoopi what for about welfare. And isn't Ben Carson awesome because he really handed her hat in her hand? It has to be a battle, and it has to be one versus the other, and it has to be somebody wins and somebody loses in the reporting, and they will edit out the sentence that lets you get to the common ground just to sell their story. I saw him do it. I just saw him do it today. It's absolutely disgusting, and I don't know how to get beyond that.
I would love for you to call him out on it. I mean, I think that's a good demonstrable comparison. If you can get the video, I bet JD could edit that to make the point.
Of show how they showed it on Fox and made it a
Right.
Whoopi versus Ben, and here it is in reality, and the reality is they continue that conversation, and oh my God, they actually see things the same way.
And it's a good solution. It's a good talking point that all of us should be versed in. And our guys don't know enough about the system because most of them haven't been in it. They've never experienced getting chucked off the welfare roll because you made a little too much in this check one month. I can speak to that.
Well, and there was a chart that showed the stepping stones. It was last summer or something, I think it was, and AEI put it out, or I don't think it was Cato. I almost want to say it was AEI that showed the steps of welfare and AFDC and all the different supplements.
Right. I remember that.
And where your income, if you actually have a job, and it showed that basically you have to get a job paying you $60,000 a year.
I wrote an article on that. I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
I always have an article for everything, apparently. Between JD and me, we've written it all.
You've written it all. Excellent.
You don't have to do it anymore. Except for that part about Ben Carson.
Because that chart and that article would be an illustration of what Whoopi was saying, the very first part. If you're on welfare and then you get a job, okay, now I have to pay for daycare for my kids. Because when I'm on welfare, I can watch the kids. But if I get a job, then my daycare expense goes up and my welfare income goes down. So how is my first job going to cover all of that? Plus now I have transportation and I have different wardrobe requirements and I have different food expenses because I'm going to be gone all day. So I have to buy lunch out rather than being able to cook something at home. I mean, your expenses when you work are considerably higher than when you don't work. So a certain portion of your income has to go to cover the new expenses of working.
Yeah, because even if you have a job with insurance, suddenly, when you had the Medicaid card, Medicare, whatever the Title 19 is, you don't make a copayment. You just hand it to the doctor, and boom, you get seen. You don't pay for the medications. Boom, you're just giving it. But when you have a job with insurance,
you have a copay. Mm-hmm. Deductibles, and you have to take time off work to go to take the kids to the doctor, and those are things that there's a big difference between being on welfare and having a job, and it's not just the amount of your check.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to take in consideration. I've lost jobs because babysitter fell through.
Right, that happens. It's very real. Very real, because you can't just leave the kid at home alone, and that's why we see stories.
Not in this day and age.
We see stories of a woman who left her kid with a babysitter, and then the babysitter was unreliable and ran away, and the kid is home alone, and everybody fries the mom for being irresponsible. You know what? She was rocking a hard place, man. She was rocking a hard place.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
The chart you were talking about is in the post that I made.
Okay, cool. Good.
With the visual on it, and it has the link of where it goes, but it also has, the stats from that report. The welfare cliff is what it's called, and they go through the whole study. That was what, almost a year ago that came out, and we haven't got better at this in that amount of time.
No, we haven't. And
we've had multiple discussions. I remember distinctly discussions that piece generated that were less than civil, we'll say, less than civil. So and lots of interesting terms being thrown around. Because it's not reasonable to be supportive of some of these plans, or to try to even think about welfare is a sin. It's just a terrible thing. Doesn't matter that we're trying to improve the system. There are no improvements. You can't make any improvements because inherently welfare is bad. So.
Do you not believe in the Constitution?
Yeah,
Where
I
does
think
it say in the Constitution? Where's in the Constitution that there's that welfare should be allowed? Yeah, I don't see it. So it must
Was
be.
that in the Federalist Papers?
It was part of the whole for the
general
betterment
welfare.
there.
General welfare means everybody on the dole.
Yeah, there you go. There you
That's
go.
what it, yeah. No, okay, and I've got to bring this up, and it's not exactly relevant, but it's the kind of thinking that I think puts us in that place. Today, John Cornyn tweeted something, and it ended up on Julie Borowski's page. He tweeted something about if you're saying the most conservative candidate didn't win the primary, and you're going to vote for the Democrat like you think the Democrat is more conservative, I completely agree with that sentiment. But Julie started a conversation on her page about how is it conservative at all to vote for non-conservative people? You know, party is that puts party first, and this is where we get these headaches, because they're both right in a certain way, but the problem is the party is a vehicle for advancing, certain ideas, but you have to bring the ideas and you have to bring the manpower. You can't expect them to do it for you.
And it's about timing.
And exactly, if
in
you
Georgia,
end up,
the time to vote for the most conservative in Georgia was yesterday.
well, and then in November you'll still have the choice of the most conservative. But again, it's that whole, you're not going to give me the guy that I think best represents me, so I'm not going to give you my vote for your loser, slacker, third-rate candidate, establishment guy. Never mind that there are so few issues on which a liberty versus a regular conservative, quote-unquote, guy is going to make a difference right now. It's all about getting the people in place to prevail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the wrong guys may be in leadership initially, but that's still a fault of ours to keep pushing and pushing the envelope forward and putting more people so that you have, no choice but to elect more conservative candidates in the future.
Right. We surround the McConnells and Boehners with more guys on our side than guys on their side.
But the whole thing again was, how is it conservative to vote for a guy who's not as conservative as the guy I wanted? It's because you're not going to get everything you want.
Because you're supposed to be a grown-up.
And you learn that trade-off and the incrementalism, and we still suck at that. And I am so disappointed that she was the one who put that out there and had a conversation with them about this.
Sometimes it's not a circular firing squad. Sometimes we don't need that much manpower. Sometimes it's just us, pointing the gun right there. We're just taking a shot. Come on. No circular firing squad necessary. We're just committing suicide left and right, or right and right.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
Center and right.
Oh, and JD, you are right. Terry Crews is a recent discovery of mine. I have just recently decided that he is, in fact, a national treasure. Do you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
I don't. I don't really watch too much TV, but
he's on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is a comedy, and it's one of the guys who was on Saturday Night Live, and it's actually pretty damn funny. You should watch it.
Yeah, Andy Samberg and lots of other people. That one guy whose name escapes me, but was Suffice it to say, I know what you're talking about.
Yes, you should watch it. It's pretty funny.
It's extremely funny.
It's a very funny show.
He's a good guy.
And by the way, it's a show that is not insulting for a conservative to watch at all, in any way. There were no...
As if we should feel bad about watching shows that do insult conservatives, Well,
I mean, I try to support the ones that are at least, not going to say, I hate you, buy my product. Because if you're going to say you hate me, I'm not going to buy your product. I don't want to. So at least be neutral. And
at least they offered. At least they told you, hey, here's this product. We hate you, but we're going to sell it to you anyway. Which is more than what we can say some of the time.
Quietly hate me and try to sell me your product. Don't say, I hate you, buy my product. It's, I understand that that most people in Hollywood are very liberal and disagree with me. As long as they're not shoving their liberal politics all over the place, I'm fine with that. They can be who they are. Entertain me, damn it. Just shut up and act.
That is the best example of hypocrisy, is the the homage that vice pays to virtue, to me, because here you have all these people in Hollywood who are obvious, leftists in their thoughts and everything, but they know that there's only so far they can go with that messaging in their movies, and so they do conservative themed movies, and they have conservative television shows, or conservative concepts in shows and whatnot, and still they'll tout their liberal stuff off screen, but they won't dare try to sell it to you. They'll do it through their publicity and their appearances, but they're not going to try to put that on the screen. They're not going to take the gamble with their finances to do it.
Right. And and since it's their TV show that's going to reach the millions of people, far more than the $5,000 that they're going to donate to their congressperson, I'm fine with supporting a show that is like, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is just a kind of a funny cop show where the good guys win, and it's kind of heartwarming. Most comedies actually are family-friendly comedies that are supportive of standard traditional American conservative values because they want a big audience. And, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is one of those, and I'm sure they're liberal on the back end, and yeah, by watching their shows, I'm making all of them rich. Not me personally, but we're all watching their shows and they're getting rich so that they can spread their liberal fantasy land. Yeah, I'm supporting their hypocrisy. And you're right. They're liberal in word, but not in deed, because they know that their liberalism is not popular and doesn't sell.
Oh, and I think I'm fine with that. That's how I'm able, for the most part. For the most part, there's some people who I still have a hard time watching. But for the most part, I can separate now much better than I did 5 years ago what an entertainer's politics is versus what his product is.
I just don't want it when the politics are in the show. I'm not going to watch the show. Just because I'm not all that interested in watching the super liberal politics show. I'm not going to watch that. But
there's not a lot of that, though. That's the thing.
There's the late night, and even the late night. It's hard to parse that out. But as you said, when it comes to sitcoms, they're generally focused on being funny.
I don't watch Modern Family because I just got
people care more about whatever his name is, Sheldon's feud with Will Wheaton than any of the other.
Right.
There's a lot more. People don't want to. People go to these shows not to get preached at. So.
Right. And if it's a crime procedural that every time it's the evil pharmaceutical company that's trying to kill you, and every time it's the government employee who is woefully underpaid but brilliant and hardworking, it's like, okay, no, I'm not going to watch that. Because no, the bad guy isn't always the business person where, at first you thought the bad guy was the Muslim terrorist, but no, he's the victim because it was the Christian guy that's the bad guy.
24 did that.
Did they really? You're kidding me.
It was veiled, but the radical was the WASP wife of the Muslim guy who everybody suspected and who had been framed by his WASP wife for whatever it was that went down.
Of course.
And she was sick. I mean, that storyline, she was sick. But, she had been radicalized, not her husband.
Of course, of course. But I'm going to watch Person of Interest, and I'll watch the NCIS crime shows because they'll have their big bad for the season is the Muslim terrorist guys, or their big bad for the season is the Mexican cartel murderers, because they have the Mexican cartel guys be murderers, and they're evil and they chop people's heads off, and they don't, they're for real about that. And then they also have the innocent Mexican people who are caught up in the cartel violence, and those are the sympathetic people, but they don't fool you and say, oh no, it's the ranger with the gun that's really the bad guy. Because the Mexican cartel people, they're just innocent people trying to get their drugs across the border. They're nice. They don't do, NCIS doesn't try to do that crap. And they have, the Muslim terrorists are being the bad guys most of the time.
Do you watch any NCIS Los Angeles? Because they do a lot more of the.
I do watch it, but
And I'm sorry
they're
because
so
I don't watch
iffy on
these.
that. They're so iffy on that.
I try not to watch these, but they go on in my house and I hear them, and
Yeah, you kind of have to.
and I am ashamed to admit it, but there are dog whistles. I hear dog whistles, and
Mhm.
I always comment on it because it's just and sometimes it's just how poorly written these shows are, because a lot of
Yes.
them are just like just awful how poor they are.
And
So
NCIS LA does have a lot more of the standard liberal politics in it. And you'll hear it's the dog whistles. You're like, okay, yeah, yeah. Of course, you had to say that, you had to drop that phrase so that you earned your credibility with your liberal friends, didn't you?
but
George Bush.
it's something that's wrong, and it's annoying whenever it's present. But it just that is something where there's a lot more, because of the formula when it comes to these dramas. It happens a lot more, I think. You get more of those, the bad guy is always the businessman, the bad guy is always the whatever rich guy.
Well, and they need to try to make a twist and have, stuff like that. They're trying to be.
The ironic thing is that the twist is never actually a twist. The twist would be if the bad guy was the guy that you thought was the bad guy.
Right, right.
Yes, that's the case in a lot of these dramas. And I'm sorry, Fishy. I was joking about the spoilers because again, I don't know what it is, but I missed out on the whole 24 fad or craze or whatever.
Yeah, I never saw any of it.
Not me.
Well, and we all know when you see an episode of a crime procedural, and here's one of your people's old partner shows up in town. Oh my God! Yes. Wait a minute. He's corrupt. I'm guessing he's corrupt, but he's the one who taught you everything you know. Oh, here's the love interest. No, she's going to be dead before the episode's over. I'm sorry.
Yeah, my dad and I play a game like that. When you have guests, not guests, but you see people that are clearly not actors that are going to be on the show for long.
But
Something like that.
Look, we're now meeting the guy in the next cubicle over.
This person is far too famous to be a good guy, or far too famous to be a bad guy, or whatever.
Yeah.
They're figuring out what the plot of the show is going to be. Yes, expendable crew members. Exactly.
Right.
It's one of those things that happens, is just
Bob in accounting that we've known for 10 years and have never seen on the show, and now he's all of a sudden going to have a big role this episode.
Yeah, so something bad happens.
He's the mole.
Yeah.
Nobody paid attention.
Yes.
Because he was always such a nice, quiet guy.
Exactly. Stereotypes.
And you're revealing your longtime crush on this person we've never heard of before, who is now involved in this story. Oh, crap, he's dead. He's the mole and he's dead, but you will have a poignant scene with some violin music.
Yep.
And then there'll be the sad farewell at his graveside. So there's that.
And then they must find out who killed him.
Yes, yes,
Somebody
yes.
has to be avenged. It's just like
Right.
I think the thing I'm taking away from this is the thing that you said, Leslie, about we act properly, but we talk like jerks.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway from the night.
we're
And
frustrated. I understand why we would want to behave like jerks. It makes sense on some level that this built up frustration. Oh my God, this stuff is happening and we don't know what we can do to stop it or whatever.
And we're under attack,
Yeah.
and
because we're the nice guys and we're losing.
So we behave like jerks because we think that this is important. It's important that I have to explain the 10 reasons why I think that people on welfare are horrible, awful leeches. We have to get this stuff out, otherwise.
because I'm working for my stuff and I don't got no iPhone.
Exactly. Where's my check?
Where's my big screen TV?
And I come back to, there's a category on the Conservative Union called conservative living, and the idea behind that was to use posts to that category just to illustrate the fun things that conservatives do in their lives, to show that conservatives are nice, fun, engaged people out in their community. And I went on a fun run this weekend, and here's some pictures from it. And this is what this is what conservatives do with their lives. Here's the puppet. Here's the puppet show we did. This is and this is just an illustration of conservative values, or here's a story of something or another. And there have been a couple of, when Ed did his CU member in the member spotlight with a couple of our moderators who said that conservative living was their favorite part of the Conservative Union. I think most of us realize we need more of that. We need to show more of that so that the Conservative Union and conservatives in general can be viewed as actual living, breathing, normal human beings with lives and friends and families, and that we're not fire-breathing monsters, and that we're nice people doing good things in the community, and that we'd like to have fun. The only thing is, it's a lot more work to create a post into that community than it is to just share a headline from Breitbart that is Tea Party is dead. That's an easy thing to share, and you add your 3-word comment, oh my gosh, and you've shared a story into the CU and brought the whole thing down a little bit.
I have a hard time.
And I use the
party
CU,
has
and
been
it's
killed so many
Facebook
different
too.
times. I can barely muster an eye roll. I mean, it's just like I kind of wish it was dead, because then at least we would be able to go somewhere. We'd be if the matter was dead, then we would be able to do something. But whatever. It's just it's annoying that people get hooked up on these things and get upset and
they do, and demoralized, and it spins us up, and we turn into jerks.
I don't think that that's the number one cause of jerk related behavior, but
no,
it's
the contributing factor.
Yes, it's a contributing factor for sure. Thank you.
Okay, so what's the solution? We've defined a problem. What's the solution? Conservatives are jerk. Let's just be liberals instead because they're nice.
Well, okay, we've talked about a positive messaging, and it's not really, positive and full length messaging are very problematic. Word messaging over visual messaging is far more difficult, even though some of the positions that we would take time to talk through.
And nobody wants to listen.
Right.
And snark is so much easier. Snark on Twitter, man, it's fast, it's easy. There's no investment. It's like a few words, type, done.
And I think too, and maybe Twitter rants, collated under Storify or something might be visual enough to do some of the messaging. Those are always good, and I've had some cathartic rants that I thought were pretty positive, in terms of also solutions as well. But I want to go back to, this is why I wish Corey and Andy had been here tonight, because I keep wanting to go past the one-on-one and the small group explaining. I've been majoring in messaging for the last 5+ years at least, as a leader of a movement here, as a leader of an organization, as a person that gets the phone calls and the emails and the Facebook messages. What do I do about X? How do we take on this? There's a couple of major battles messaging-wise around local issues that I've been talking about quietly to a few people. And I am building a coalition of people I know who think more than react to certain things, and who are able more now to look behind the messaging, to take that extra step, and think about why is someone posting that story, or why is that out there, the way that Leslie did with that the business about McConnell. But it is 5 years, and I can probably name 30 or 40 people in this area who I could say those things to, and wouldn't be immediately misunderstood, purposefully sometimes misunderstood or attacked. So I need the broad messaging. I need the way that we're going to change the tone. Now, of course, I think we also need to increase our influence, no matter what, in any of the organizations that we're in. We've got to build them bigger and have a larger influence. And maybe, Leslie, I don't know, are you going to come to that conference, the AFP conference? You are going to make it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I mean, we need to have some conversations around that strategy there, because maybe we can capture some interesting messaging from the people that are there. I had some ideas for some interview question concepts that we can talk about offline,
Okay, cool.
which might help go take these questions that we're asking here over the past, 18 weeks, whatever it is, and start posing them to people who we know are respected in conservative circles, because some of them are not talking about these things at all, and some of them might not have even thought about those concepts, but we can get some bigger minds, greater conservative profiles on those things. That might help boost our profiles too. So that's kind of what has been going in my head since I thought about that conference.
Because that's a huge resource that those people are, and the whole purpose is for online activism.
Yes, and so part of that is, hey, can we sit down and do 5 minutes with you? 5 questions, 5 minutes, and then we could mix up the questions based on things we've talked about in these sessions, and say, our group is concerned about X, and how do we, depending on their area of expertise or whatever, how do we talk about this to people? How do we get people to pay attention to the issues in a different way, or what is your thought on how we solve the problem of X here or there? That might be a good video project that would be able to be helpful just for tapping those brains. I mean,
yeah, and recording it so that we can remember later, because I'll be all, oh my God, that's Kevin Williamson. Oh my God.
I just shook the hand of Charles C.W. Cook, and I didn't use a British accent when talking to him. Spoiler! That's going to be me. I'm just warning you now.
Okay, I won't be able to talk to him because I will adapt. I tend to take on the accent of the person that I'm talking to, and it can be really embarrassing if it's like an Australian or a British guy, because it's like, I end up just doing it. It's terrible. That's okay. I'll be all giggly about Cone Williamson.
Yeah, no, I'm in serious danger of doing that because of the the video I did of, does it sound better in British? I'm not kidding you. I practice that every day.
Oh my God, we can come up with some stuff and you can get him to record it. Does it sound better if it's British? And get him to say it.
Oh, that is something that I wanted to do in the videos, is throw it out there to, Hugh Jackman or Colin Firth, or, any one of these people, Kit Harrison, anybody that's got a good accent.
Yeah.
Let's see if it sounds better if so-and-so says it. I just wanted to throw it out there as a concept, but we could actually do it.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could.
Now I have to find some stupid things people have said so that we can bring that.
Okay, cool. Stupid things people have said to get a script for.
Charles, sit on your cook.
Charles.
Charlie Cook.
Charlie, I don't want to talk to you because of your
Here,
awesome,
just read this in
your
front of the
awesome
camera.
writing, but I need to borrow you because you're a Brit and have that accent. So could you
Yes.
please do me a solid here and read
I just want you for the ear candy.
Oh my.
I need to wear leg braces so my knees don't buckle. I'm just saying. He has got a voice. Yeah, I'm just saying. Podcastery gets me in so much trouble.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think I'm fan myself now. I'm sorry.
I'm all clamped.
Yes! I am so verklempt. Anyway, I'm better now. But no, I mean, that may be the solution, is let's take these questions to people.
We are
with
going to
bigger
have a
stroke.
resource right there, yeah, and shame on us if we don't take advantage of it.
Well, and I tagged 90% of the people that I want to talk to on Facebook when I first posted that, so I can tag them all again and say, hey, I want to do a 5-minute 5 questions with you. Are you game? Can we set that up?
Good idea. Yes, do.
And then that way we're kind of being expected. We don't have to corner people. Although I'd do it too. I'm shameless. I'd do it.
As if that would stop me.
Right. Well, I'd just make Larry O'Connor take me around. I've got to come up with a present for him, by the way. All right. Yeah, no, I think we're slipping past the point of usefulness, but that is definitely something I think we can do. Is it, we've probably thought more about these issues than a lot of people we talk to, but maybe those guys have, or if they haven't, it's good to bring up and see what they do have, spur of the moment, off the cuff. So
right. I think it'll be good to ask. If they have, they'll give us good insight, and if they haven't, then at least maybe it's triggering some questions in their own mind that they can step up their game. I don't know.
Yeah, I expect to see this on NRO in 1 week. Thank you, sir. Don't think I won't say that.
I expect. There you go. I expect to see this a new style of analysis from you. Maybe you can turn it into a whole new column.
Maybe you can step it up just a bit here.
Just a bit. This is what we need from you, man, dude.
Can you please, now this is getting into begging mode. Can you ask Kevin Williamson to make me not want to slip my wrists after reading one of his articles?
I told you I'm gonna have that little talk with him. Just for you.
Just because it's so
that article that I linked to, that he wrote, it's up in the chat, the Narcissist Creed.
Yes, that one was a great article. He is just, his brilliance just astounds. But
that was hard to read, though.
Yeah, it was, because you read it and it's like, oh, I despair for us.
Mm-hmm.
I despair.
And he's telling people, this isn't serious decisions on matters of state and politics is not for you. If this is the kind of person that you are, and I'm going, oh crap, is that what we are? Between that and PJ O'Rourke's commencement address, I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, you read those articles and you go, oh, okay, and so do we just sit back, buy canned goods, and wait for the end to come and hope that we end up being the survivors to rebuild?
Can we take over the Dominican Republic, maybe?
I hear Costa Rica is nice.
Moving to Switzerland seems to be a common theme this week. People have been wanting to do that. Yeah, I know.
Awfully
If you're going to
cold.
support me in the lifestyle to which I have become accustomed, we can talk. But
A, cold. B, expensive.
It's not that cold.
no, it's not that cold, but it is expensive. It's only those Alpy places where it gets ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh well.
I'm sure there's a lovely, really, really, really small, how Europe is with their fake houses that are like, doghouse size, American wise. That I'm sure it's cheap. I'm sure there's
And from
reasonable.
Bern to the south of Italy is probably Dallas, Fort Worth to Houston.
Right, probably so.
Every time you have to bring it back to just how big your freaking state is.
Right, somebody lives across town from you. It's like, oh my gosh, is that as far away as like the other side of my neighborhood here?
Oh,
We
no,
like to
but
spread. We like to spread out.
yes, Switzerland. Yeah, how many Switzerlands fit in Texas? I wonder.
We're not having this discussion again. We're not doing this.
We're not
This
doing
isn't-
that. We're
this
not doing
isn't-
that.
Okay, I'm totally going to superimpose a map of Texas over all kind of places. I'm just saying. Anyway,
I didn't ask for this. This wasn't what I was. This is not what I was trying to say. I was just saying that there's an article that was floating around
Then we
about
should go to Switzerland.
Switzerland's people saying that no, we don't want to raise the minimum wage, and like everybody was like, oh hey, let's go move to Switzerland now because whatever. But
I'm still thinking a
Please.
cheap island is a much better idea.
I know some of our fellows at FRN have contemplated that. So
Yeah, sadly. Yeah, islands are spendy.
islands are, yes.
Dang it.
Oh well.
Uh,
Okay, gang, we need to wrap this up for today. I'm gonna
yeah.